you mentioned politics, but really politics is it's just a mode and method of acquiring power in order to govern. Let me just say very, very briefly, this idea of spiritual politics is contained in the Genesis. First of all, we are identified as stewards in a garden. The garden is the governmental order of the human being. We're stewards under the Creator's charge, which means we're not kings. We are not lords. We are servants of the Creator to bring government on earth as it is in heaven. One of the reasons why governments all around the world are in trouble, including in the United States, is that we ignored the dictates of the Genesis. And we have gone east of the garden, east of the natural governmental order that God has ordained for the human being. And that order is a combination of earthly concerns overridden by universal spiritual verities. That's enough of that. I don't have but 5 minutes. The economic reality of the human being became prolific. Those who had wanted to preserve what they had. Those who didn't have wanted to take what others had who had been industrious. So in order to regulate that, government was formed. Government was formed. But again, if you don't keep in mind the spiritual verities, your get up and go society, GO, will become a Goliath society. Goliath. The idea that the only thing that's important is material economic development. And you become a big material juggernaut and giant, but you are devoid of conformity to the spiritual laws of the universe.
Thank you. Again, I wanted 2 questions for you. That was the first. The second, which applies to us as a group, again, you won elections. And I want you to explain how you lived in your ward and how you served those people, not just as some pulpit figure, but literally living with them and bringing about change. Does that make sense?
Yes, because real change must be organic. It must arise naturally from the community. It cannot be juxtaposed from the top or from the outside. And you have to be willing to accord your constituents with a full right of self-government in the new world of a new heaven and a new earth. Not just token voters, where they run and press a button at the poll, and then you become a lord over the community. Everything they need, they're dependent upon you to act. No, they are full co-participants in the governance of their district. And they have just as much right as the serving leader to contribute to the governing of the neighborhood and their community. That's true, genuine participatory democracy. That's the ideal that Dr. King had in mind. That's the ideal that SNCC and people like the late John Lewis had in mind when they wanted us to move from protest politics as a community to participation in the electoral order in this great country.
Okay, thank you. So back to the screen, guys, the MEPA screen here. I talked to my uncle about this, and as far as a goal for the year, the goal is to identify an office. We talked about city council, mayor, state representative. Start there. You know, we're basically city council, basically, and learn. But I'm not gonna. Let me put it like this. That is a very likely. Isn't that what you were advising?
Yes, if you look at the evolution of David as a leader, before his head was anointed with oil, and he was able to take on awesome responsibility of the prime leader in the governmental order, he started off as a shepherd with limited responsibilities, though important responsibilities. Many of our officials are not humble enough to go through that process of coming in as a babe. According to Jesus' instruction, we should come at our endeavors like a babe, humble, willing to learn, willing to exalt those who already have mastered a discipline. So you have many people going in the government that's not really prepared, and they are not providing productive servant leadership for the people. That's all the way up now to Congress and the people we see representing us, up to the presidency in the form of not being political, but it's obvious Donald Trump. The preparation simply was not there to lead this great nation.
Thank you, sir, for coming on and sharing that knowledge and wisdom with us and serving the community. Hats off to you. Malcolm,
Thank you.
You're more than welcome, sir. Why do you want to run for office? And how have you been preparing yourself?
It's not that I want to run, because it's more like I'm willing to run. And, you know, the odds are stacked towards failure. But one of the things my uncle said that was encouraging about it is that it may inspire someone else. Basically, when you have, like my uncle said, a lack of leadership in government that's gotten all the way up to the level of the presidency, and we're supposed to have the right to self-govern. And another thing he didn't mention was part of what that means in a ward is you deputize other people. And that's kind of what we're doing in this group. It's not just about a single person. We want everyone to take part and be a deputy. So I think about Nelson Mandela and how he went into office, he did one term. My uncle said, basically, you have to learn the inside. A lot of this stuff is, you know, we did as Black people was from the outside. So if I'm called to do that, I'm willing to do it. And I've been sharing that with you guys, you know, from the beginning.
So I'm going to ask the question again. I'm going to be you today, Malcolm.
Okay.
I heard everything your uncle said, and he's a man of great substance, wisdom, knowledge, and all the above. But you brought him on as a mentor. He is a servant, not only to his community, but to the country. What I need, and you've talked about this for 2 years, that one day you're going to run for president.
Well,
40
now,
years.
now,
Hold up. I'm asking the question. Because we're talking about goals that we have, and everything is birthed from a seed. And one of the great things I heard your uncle say, servanthood. and you talked about this, and I believe that is very, at this point, moving into accountability. What are you doing right now to lay this foundation so that you will be able to do double? Because I see your uncle as an Elijah, and I see you as an Elisha, and it's obviously there's a mantle on his life, but at some point God is going to position him to take him higher. Are you deserving? And this is still in the same vein, to handle the mantle that's on his life, and what are you doing outside of following him to place, to Jericho, Jordan, to Bethel? What are you doing now? Because that's what I need here. Because we, again, as men, we love to talk, many of us, but many of us don't put the footwork behind it. And as you tell me, being an old man, you tell me that, you constantly remind me of that. I want to know, as a young man at 40 years old, how are you laying the foundation now, and what are you involved in your community outside of MEPA, so that when your face hit the public, somebody would say, I know him, but they don't know you. That's what I want to know.
Okay. So I have to make it simple. Keep it simple. It's family. So meaning that, I have a ton of children. I have a job. I don't have a lot of free time. So anytime that I'm in the communities dealing with, tennis, things going on with the family, that's all I really have right now. And then I'm on the MEPA calls on Saturday, because again, I spend almost 24 hours a day in a room on a computer. So, trying to stay involved, but outside of the home right now is just whatever the family's doing.
Okay. So right now, do you see this happening when you're 60?
No, again, it's 2024, 2028, sir. We said that.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just only doing what you challenged me last.
Yeah.
Right. And so with that being said, what are the three things in your community, if you were a city councilman, that you would have a passion, to change or to create laws in order to make a change? What are those three things?
I got you. Thank you. So again, I have to utilize some things my mentor is saying. How to shape spiritual principles and concrete practical policy. How to shape spiritual principles and concrete practical I don't even really know what this means yet, but as far as policies go, you're talking about, the family structure, the degradation of the family, freedom of religion, climate change, right to bear arms. Those are basic things in terms of what the Republicans represented. Now that things are basically going entirely Democrat for a while, there's still some things in the Republican tradition that should be preserved. So I don't know if that makes sense. The Democrat is known as a liberal. The Republican is known as a conservative. And basically you have Republican going away now for a while. So those policies, I guess I would identify more on the Republican side and Democrat at this time, and study more about those, like you said, Marcus, and choose a top three.
And which one of those three, or would you create a new party?
I would have to get more guidance from my uncle on that before I answer that. But again, the concept of deputizing people and getting out of this worship of politicians, that's important. These deputies being in their communities is important. I don't know. I asked my uncle, how do you do that, when you're representing a whole state? How do you do that when you're representing the country? Clearly, there's issues with that now. They're not able to do it anymore because they're all on the inside. So how do you have an inside game and an outside game? You know, that's not a one-man thing. That's about the team. So still brand new and learning it, 2 years away. I told Uncle Yusuf as well, there's requirements to run. You have to fill out paperwork. What are the requirements? Those should be some of our goals. But the actual office is TBD, likely city council. Around family, what'd you say, Uncle Yusuf, getting people real estate? Were you talking about
What
things
now?
like that?
No, I told you that the policy should be holistic. And I used the example of 4 rivers coming out of the garden. Policies aimed at the economic river in our community, the moral needs, crime, breakdown, incarceration, that kind of thing, academic, promoting policies which turn our young people after school toward developing keen academic interests. And then finally, a spiritual approach where we bring the faith-based institutions together, link with government in our neighborhood. We got a lot of churches, we got a lot of other religious communities come together, get them involved in government as one holistic unit. That's how you shape the policy.
Your uncle laid some strong points out, and I never wanted to run for office, but I this is what I want to ask you, Malcolm, because my past is too much. I don't know if I want my past to be out there. I'll be under great scrutiny. That's what I wanted to ask you, Malcolm. Is your family at a place that they could handle the limelight or being out front? Because I'm sure that's vital.
Right. Well, you answered it all in what you just said, right? They wouldn't want it. They would support something that, you know, I came and said, hey, God's telling me to do this because, like you said, because of the past.
Which God? Which God? Because sometimes we put God in the equation and God is us. So, and I'm just saying, you know, because there are decisions that I had to make in my life that, like, for example, I couldn't write my book while my mom was alive because I was not put her under that level of scrutiny. But after she passed, I started writing it. And so and instead of just having a passion for the community, can your family handle all the pressure? Can your marriage handle all the pressure that come along with being out front? Because stuff, people just find out stuff about you. I'm just letting you know. And can you handle it? Are you preparing your family as well for the mud that might be pulled up? They got records. They got how many times people been arrested, and it's amazing who take the time to find out. Do you think your family at present will be able to handle all the stuff that comes along with you out there doing the work? Because it becomes important when you start rising up. That's what I want to know.
Right. So I guess I would have to, again, punt to what I saw growing up when I was living with my uncle, and he was doing it. To me, I don't know what Uncle Yusuf inspired you to do it, but I saw them all doing it. And then when I was there, he had me doing it. So we're in it together. If we decide to do it, we're in it together. You know, that's a big part of what this discussion is getting proper counsel before making these type of moves and doing these type of things with people that know everything about me. So good question.
And here's the thing that I see. A lot of times this is my my door into where I'm going. You'll be surprised even the number of men that are on this call, the number of men that I meet that have great ambitions, but those that just say in relationship cannot handle the public. What should I use? They cannot handle what goes along with what God has called you to do. Bible says a man that findeth a wife findeth a good thing. Hopefully, I don't want to be at 60 years old trying to date. And, you know, I guess I can, but But if I'm looking for a wife, that's anyway. Nevertheless, it says a man that finds a wife first he got to be a man. And the only way that I believe you could be a man is by being around a man and teaching you or uncles or whatever. That finds a wife, and it's a wife, somebody who's been mentored by a wife. Find it's a good thing, obtain favor from God. So we've been talking about the little boy. What about, let me use myself as an example. I've been with my wife for 40 some years. Let me just go ahead and say it. The first couple of years we were chatting, but nevertheless, for me, that was married, but it wasn't married. So we've been together a long time. Let me give you a realistic, how it has worked for me in my life.
All right. Good morning, gentlemen. One of the greatest challenges that I have been challenged with has been the ability for me to become who I am. And one of the mistakes that I see now as I play as I rewind the tape, called, the tape, life, past life, or whatever. One of the mistakes that I've made is that I did not spend enough time with me finding out what it is that that I'm here on earth for, finding my purpose, so the challenge is that when I got into relationships, it challenged that because now my responsibility, it had to be evolved around family. And what you tend to do, and what I did, is that I the things that I desired to do, I put them on the back burner. And I dealt with now a family and a woman. This is my third wife. Obviously, I've learned something, getting to the third one, to be able to speak on this, because I see now where things have gone wrong for me. But I've included a wife too soon, and I didn't have a vision. Then I have children. And so you put the wife, you have children, and you put all those things in place, and then you see yourself, focusing on other things, and then you forget about you. And now life begins to take off on you, and you ask yourself, where did all the time go? And so for me, that brought about frustration. That brought about a lot of frustration, because now, I'm beginning to see life totally different as a older man now. And as seeing life in that, I see that there were some priorities that I did not prioritize. I didn't put priorities in perspective. I did the best that I could. I connected myself with this group, MEPA. And the reason why I connected, because I needed some stability and accountability in my life. And through this group of, through what we're getting on this call, and what we're getting through the great mentorship of Marcus, it has helped me go back and do some correction and correct some things, and be able to move forward and not being stuck. So that's where I am right now.
It happens through both of us, because remember, we were laughing about it the other day, but not everybody knows. Some of you don't know. The parents and I, we was playing Russian roulette with each other, and however, we came together, and we're alike in so many ways. He could be hard-headed just like I could be hard-headed. I could get in my ego but we came together and we brought a resolve to it, because there is not only a spiritual connection, there's a brotherhood and longevity. And sometimes relationships are fire. But here's the great thing that I have to compliment you on, Terrence. Opposed to the first time, you let us see the change. Because again, let's go back on what we talked about Malcolm. Malcolm going to run for president. So your life is played out on stage. And so we let this play out on stage, and both of us got healed in the process, because we were able to conversate. Little boys sometimes don't know how to conversate. We don't know how to a lot of us been challenged simply because we didn't know how to process things as a man. And so when we started talking about this little boy and our mental health, and that was taboo, especially even in the Black community. If because the first thing when me growing up, they would send you what they would call a crazy house.
All right. Hey, everybody, thank you guys for being on here this morning and on this Saturday morning, man. You guys could be anywhere else, but the fact that you're here, that's, what I'm saying, commendable, and I salute you guys for that. I want us to take heed to what Coach said, though, because we are constantly dealing with, in our society today, a lot of mental health issues, and a lot of that is coming from this whole situation that we're dealing with, the little boy. That ever since Coach brought that up some months ago, it really, I'm able to differentiate which one is in position, like who is running me right now. You know what I'm saying? Just knowing, okay, now that's the grown man talking, or that's the grown man thinking, or that's the little boy talking, or that's the little boy thinking. So I have been able to separate and differentiate who is who and what is what. Just talking about this is not a bipolar situation. It's not a bipolar situation, but it is something that can affect your mental health, not being able to differentiate who is who. So I salute you for bringing that up, and I challenge us to really start, checking ourselves. I think the accountability, which MEPA is all about, I am a part of MEPA because of accountability. Outside of the brotherhood, the accountability is valuable to me. The vulnerability is valuable to me. So, and all the wisdom and knowledge and input, and camaraderie, like all of that is valuable to me. Well, we salute you for being on here. I can see why Malcolm looks up to you as a mentor, and the gentleman that spoke and was challenging Malcolm, he's my mentor. You see that gentleman that's just been pull out the shotgun today? That's my mentor.
If Malcolm is a good man, he can stand a challenge.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Men have become so sensitive now that we can't stand a challenge. We wear our feelings and sensitivities on our sleeve. So that was a great cross-examination by the brother, by the mentor, and he forced Malcolm to really think about where he's going.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate the challenge.
Jay,
Thank you, Brother Marcus. Let me just make a quick statement, and I say this with deep sincerity. This is what's called a month of Ramadan for me, 30 days, but it's divided into 3 different 10-day stages. The first 10 days, we ask for mercy. And I'm going to tell each and every one of you gentlemen, I have received a lot of mercy from listening to you all this morning. I have received a lot of mercy. I was asked by Malcolm to come on and share, not understanding that the Creator had a surprise for me to receive. And I've received a lot of mercy. And thank you, gentlemen, for sharing the best of your heart, your mind, and spirit. And I can go away full of mercy this day. Thank you very much.